I ja ću zamoliti sada kolegu doktora Turija da nam prezentira svoje predavanje HEMS u Mađarskoj. Please, Dr. Turi, can you present?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Do you hear me? Good morning. I'm terribly sorry, but I don't speak your language, except two words like dagnje and linje na žaru, which means I just love Croatia. I love to be in your lovely country. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to learn more, but I promise every time I come back here, I will get some new words. So, first of all, let me thank you this honor that I've been invited to your prestigious conference. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. When I was asked several months ago to come to Croatia and speak about our experience, immediately I said yes, of course. I would be happy to share our experience with you. But then it just came to my mind, wow, how will I summarize within 45 minutes our experience, which is pretty fresh. You will see over my presentation, hopefully, that we had a lots of work behind us, and it was an extremely intensive year while we started the operations. So I would like to summarize our experience, give some encouragement for you, because to be honest, at the moment in Europe, not so many countries left which hasn't developed proper helicopter emergency medical service. The former Yugoslavian states, Bulgaria, are those who still at the moment don't have this integrated system to the existing ground ambulance service. If you let me, I would like to go to the podium because I don't want to stand here for 45 minutes. So let me continue with this. Yes? Yeah, okay. So I would like to show you the experience, how we developed a brand new system in Hungary over a relatively short period of time. Let me just tell you a few words about my background. How did I come to this presentation? My original profession is doctor. I am a trauma surgeon, hand surgeon, and accident and emergency physician. I had some experience in the United States, United Kingdom, Austria, Germany, and even Russia. So I had a chance to study and experience inside the existing helicopter emergency services. Between 2004 and 2005, I was working as an advisor to the Minister of Transport, Economy and Transport. And as an advisor, I was asked to work in a working group which was responsible for the development of the new concept of the Hungarian HEMS. 2005 and 2006, I was the chairman of the supervisory board of the new company, and from 2006 until the very beginning of 2011, I was the managing director of the Hungarian Air Ambulance Non-Profit Limited. And since 2011, I'm the CEO of the Truster Limited, which is at the moment an advisor company. We don't have any operations, but this is the plan to set up a private helicopter and fixed-wing ambulance operations in the near future. So, if we start to speak about the Hungarian experience, we got to speak about the history of the HEMS, because what I'm going to tell you is a new company's life, the birth of a new company. But of course, we had some history. In Hungary, the HEMS and air ambulance, we should strictly divide these two words. HEMS is helicopter emergency medical service. Air ambulance is rather fixed wing repatriation, as you see here. In Hungary, we have 30 plus years experience. 1958, we had the first aircraft, which was operated by the Hungarian government, of course, and the Hungarian National Ambulance Service to fly patients from East Hungary to West Hungary, from West Hungary to Central Hungary. This was a reliable service, and those years that was very, very important. But of course, on long term, it has not much meaning because Hungary is not a big country. 1980s, Mi-2 helicopters arrived. Those years, those helicopters were kind of state-of-the-art aircraft. Mi-2 was a very nice Russian design, which lately was manufactured in Poland. Still, some helicopters are flying. Those years, this light helicopter for different utilization was excellent. You can see here there's a rear door, which was pretty wide. The stretcher and the med crew was entering the aircraft here at the back, and of course the pilots were sitting in the front. But these aircrafts were a bit noisy, and of course they had the limitations. Early 90s, we had 3 French light AS-350B helicopters called Ecurel, the Squirrel, which was a kind of evolutionary jump. These helicopters were considered the most modern. Actually, even today, these helicopters considered as a very reliable aircraft. This was a single-engine aircraft, light, much more faster than the old Mi-2. The capabilities, the ignition, the takeoff time was much, much better. What were the facts? As you remember from the previous slide, we had the HEMS established from the early 80s. The system which was working was an old structure. We had a very mixed system, which meant we had one helicopter operated by a foundation, the other one was operated by the government, the other one was operated by a for-profit operator. Every helicopter represented a single unit. There was no integrated system all over Hungary. The helicopters were attached to the ground ambulance capacity of the region, and the helicopter's dispatch was rather subjective instead of being very objective according to a strict protocol. And of course, as I said, the aircraft had very limited capabilities. They were unable to land in a small place. They were unable to take off in hot summer days when the air is very mild. So we had some problems, but still the helicopters provided very significant help, and they were in service until the early years of the 2000 years. We had, unfortunately, during the old system, very uncertain financial background. Nobody knew how much a flight hour costs. But as a governmental, socialist-like system, state companies were financed by the state. There was money. Money was spent. Nobody was really caring about the cost efficacy, the cost effectiveness. The helicopters were flying. The operator said we need a new rotor blade. Then the state or the ground ambulance service paid for the rotor blade. So the financial background was very, very uncertain. And such, we had very expensive operations, very expensive maintenance, and in terms of cost effectiveness, we couldn't speak about this. Unfortunately, we had unexpected accidents as well. Of course, everybody knows that to err is human, and every flight incident is more or less related to human failure. But still, these accidents, unfortunately, at the back, had some technical issues, unfortunately. So when this happened, 2005, 31st of March 2005, this was the trigger. This was the trigger when the government said, okay, that something has to be done. So we had like 20 years, 25 years of experience of HEMS, and there were incidents. Actually, there was 3 incidents within 1 year. That was too much. This incident happened in the city of Pécs, south of Hungary. Somewhere here is the central clinic. The helicopter just took off after patient handover. There were no patient on board. Here is a kindergarten. Here is the clinic. They took off, and unfortunately, after takeoff, something happened, and the helicopter crashed down. Thanks for the pilot's skills, he was able to crash down on the empty streets instead of crashing down on the kindergarten or falling back to the clinic. So this incident was a trigger when the Prime Minister, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Economy and Transport said something has to be done. Remember the date, 31st of March 2005. So what was the challenge? The challenge was to complete renewal of the old system with redefined structure, redefined operations. New concept has to be written. Which were the tasks? The tasks were, this was the expectation from the political level, and these expectations were very, very clear. We had to build an EU-conform, cost-effective and reliable system over a relatively short period of time, which can operate for a long time. The National Ambulance Service was responsible for ground service, ground rescue and helicopter service as well. Decision was, National Ambulance Service as a mother company should form an air ambulance company as a daughter company. These two companies can integrate the capacities, ground ambulance and air ambulance, and work for the rescue of Hungary. The expectation was that the new organization must comply with the latest aviation authority requirements, laws, and of course, medical professional challenges. I know this is a medical conference, but I don't want to go into details. This presentation will give you just an overview about a system development. You shouldn't go into details with the figures, with the numbers. I could speak about hours or days about this topic, so let me just go through and give just the most important key thoughts about it. So I will not discuss in details the medical professional challenges, for example. So, 31st of March, we had an incident. 2nd of April, 2 days later, a working group was formed, only with 3 people. Remember this number. I was happy enough and I was lucky enough to be one of those 3 people. The Prime Minister, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Economy and Transport delegated 3 people in the working group. No 20, no 50, 3 people with full competence and authorization. We had free hands. But we've been told that we have to place the concept of the new HEMS. These 3 professionals came from emergency medicine with aviation experience and international benchmarking and best practice implementation experience. The supporting ministries behind were, as I said, the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Economy and Transport. I believe it's very logical. Ministry of Health, responsible for healthcare issues. Ministry of Transport, responsible for aviation issues. What we did? We decided, what do we want? The first question of HEMS, what kind of service do we want? Primary service, go out, make the rescue, get the patients from the road back to the hospital, or provide rather secondary missions, inter-hospital transfers. We decided we do want primary. We changed the philosophy. We wrote a brand new concept. As I said, the previous system was very mixed up. We had foundations for profit operators, non-profit operators, no single operation under one umbrella. We changed the philosophy. We decided we will form one company which were responsible for everything. Medical, flight operation, maintenance issues. These are the major cornerstones of HEMS operations. These should go together. We have estimated the available resources, how many helicopters, how many people, how many bases we'll have, how many hardware we'll need. As we decided, as we had the estimations, we decided the locations of the helicopter bases, how we should cover the country. We checked the available maintenance capabilities, which were already available, and we checked what additional maintenance we'll need to provide a reliable HEMS service. Evaluated all the possible solutions. We gained the AOC Air Operator Certificate with the Civil Aviation Authority, which was mandatory to start flight operations. So flying a helicopter is not like driving a car. You're a pilot, you have your license, but without an AOC, you cannot take off. Any company should have. This is an aviation requirement. Continuing, what we did, we compared different financing variations, studied the EU tender regulations, insurance, helicopter acquisitions. This was, well, a huge work, but as I said, the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Economy and Transport was behind, so we had the staff. We just said, okay guys, this should be evaluated. You got 2 days, you got 3 days. And the apparatus of the ministries were behind. They were working on us. So we registered a new company, recruited new crew, introduced new dispatch protocol, run 3 tenders for helicopter acquisition, etc., etc. We had a hell of a lot of work to do for this short period of time. 31st of March 2005, remember the picture? The helicopter crashed. Go down here. 10th of April 2006, 1 year later, the first new helicopter arrived. And over this period of time, 1 year, the working group was formed. Remember, 3 people. The complete new HEMS concept was ready by 22nd of April. Less than 3 weeks. We had the HEMS concept ready. Well, of course, we had some previous preparation works, so it was already on the table. It was already at hand. We just had to refresh it, but it was ready within 3 weeks. No brainstorming for months, no brainstorming for years. We got the Prime Minister's approval 21st of May already. We had a government decision 22nd of July. Beginning of November already the new company was registered by the court. 1st of January the new company started the operation. Of course, during this period of time, parallel operations were done. We acquired AOC from the Civil Aviation Authority. We published European tenders for acquisition of helicopters. We recruited the crew. The new crew was trained. So many, many people started to work on the project for one aim. We had the successful tender, which was signed on 10th of March. So basically, we were very effective because less than a year later, we already had a contract for 5 new helicopters should be arriving in the next future. So the result, we had in 2006 the youngest member of the European HEMS community. All the other companies those years, 2005, 2006, were already existing, like the German, the Swiss, the French, the Dutch, the Italian system were already existing. This was the newest company of the European HEMS community. We have prepared the basics, the fundamentals of a truly European operation, which became cheaper, more reliable, safer, which gave opportunity for the continuous development. The annual cost-benefit analysis, of course, lately proved that we were on the right track. We joined the EHAC, European HEMS and Air Ambulance Committee. We've been accepted as a new member, full member, a few months after the launch of the new company. So, now we have the new company. You had a chance to see how effective work that was to get to the starting line and start the operation. Let's see how this works in the real life. So I will give you a very short description about the fleet, about bases, medical equipment, crew, dispatch and flight following system, trainings, SMS, safety management system, flight safety service, maintenance, mission statistics, financing, cost-benefit analysis, indicators. You must understand that what we set up in Hungary is very unique, but no new. There are examples coming from the Western world. We made benchmarking. We just picked up the best practice, and we implemented the best practice according to the local circumstances, adapted the best practice, and thus, which made it easy, thus that made it fast. Don't start the brainstorming. If anybody is thinking about starting a new company, you don't have to find out how this should work, because the examples are available all over the world. You should do some benchmarking, you should do some travel, some study, but the experience is already at hand, available. So let's go on. Fleet, of course, this was the most important. We had to replace the fleet. You remember the Mi-2 helicopter? I love this picture because this picture was taken, and this picture for me tells the past, the present, and future. those years, of course. This was very nice. When we had this, you see the helicopter is flying still Austrian flags, because the winner of the tender is the UMTC, so we have a cooperation with the Austrians. But we had 7 other bidders. So when we had the tender, there were 8 companies who wanted to support us, who wanted to provide HEMS. So that was the one of the first pictures when the new EC-135 arrived. And of course, this is what makes me very proud. We had a fleet, 5 of EC-135. Of course, we had no chance to picture all 5 helicopters at one place because they were working all over the country. But though, I'm very happy to have this picture when, well, this is a good picture, isn't it? This represents power. This is representing, well, development. This is the future. Okay, locations. As I said, we had to decide with the available resources, which means the number of helicopters, how many bases we want. If you are considering to establish a HEMS system, then you should take many factors into consideration how to place helicopter bases. This is not easy. Of course, the major and the first and the priority argument is to provide available high-quality medical service within 15 minutes for the majority of the population. Do we agree with it? I believe yes. We are emergency physicians. We want to provide medical service within 15 minutes. Okay, then let's see what kind of country we have. What is the 15 minutes radius of the available helicopters? This was pretty easy because this is the approximate 15 minutes radius, which is like 60, 65, 70 kilometers from the origo. If you have a country like this, which is a very unusual form, but every country is very unusual, then of course you must have some compromise. If we have had much more helicopters, then we have a chance to place a helicopter here, a helicopter here, a helicopter here, here. So if we have had like 12 helicopters, then we could have covered the entire country. As I said, there are many factors which should be taken into consideration, just like, for example, the geography of your country. Austria, you know, Austria is next to Hungary, more or less the same size. They have 16 permanent bases because of the mountains. The ground ambulance cannot go on the Serpentine, so they need more helicopters. You in Croatia probably would need more than this, or minimum this number of bases, because you have a long coastline, you have islands, you have to, you also have some mountains. So this is another factor. We had to take into consideration the available hospitals. Where are the major trauma centers? Once we decided that we want to provide primary, you remember at the very beginning, primary versus secondary. If we want to provide primary, then the mission radius should be designed that as much as possible, the mission radius should be inside the country. Because if you have the mission radius outside the country, like here to Serbia, like here to Croatia, like here to Romania, unfortunately this capacity is lost. At the moment, well, some countries like Denmark, Germany, Austria have some cross-border missions, but this is not an everyday experience. I can imagine, I have some visions for the future, so I can imagine that could be. But at the moment, we must stick to the reality. Every country should provide this service on its own. So if you provide primary service, then let's say here, Szentes is the ideal, because this round covers this area, and we have just well, we don't have capacity lost. If we have had the major priority for secondary missions, then we should have placed the helicopter here, Szeged, maybe you know the name of city of Szeged, which is a big university clinic center. If we would have provide secondary missions, flying patients from the region to Szeged, it would have been logical to place a helicopter here. But then just imagine if that would be the origo, then the round would be here. So almost the half of the capacity would have been lost. But we had a very straight decision. We want to provide primary, get the patient from the scene to the hospital. So that's why we decided to place a base here. And actually, there is a major trauma hospital here, 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 and here, and of course in Santas as well. So anything happens here, we can fly to the nearest hospital, which is here, 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 and here. This is the actual, what we have, and this is the plan. This should look like this. This is the central base. You remember this? Well, you see, yeah, at the moment there is no base here, so this area is uncovered. This is a Lake Balaton base, but according to the plans, this should be temporary, just on the summer, and this base, Papa base, should cover this area. And once we have it, and move this page base to Sexard, we could cover almost the entire area of Hungary within 15 minutes. What would be ideal? The ideal would be if we were so lucky to live in French Polynesia, on a coral atoll, which is very round, and place one helicopter in the middle of the atoll, and then we can provide 100% cover. That would never happen, of course. So, once we had the locations, let's see the HEMS base's architecture. How we started. Wow, looks pretty ugly, isn't it? This is how we started. We had to have some compromise. We had new helicopters, shiny, fancy, new guy, committed pilots, but we had this ugly base. But nobody complained, because this was temporary, because we already had the plans. The plan is to build proper HEMS bases, providing all the infrastructure background needed to provide a reliable service. Kerosene, hangar for maintenance, hangar for storing the helicopter, room for dispatch, room for the doctor, room for the pilot, illuminated helipad landing site. So this was the plans, and everybody was happy that we had this, because then it came into reality. We started to build new bases. You see, this is a small social block, room, bathroom, changing room, kitchen for everyone. A normal crew of HEMS is 4 people, plus 1 technician maybe. We don't always have technicians there. And there's the hangar. This is a single base, but this is the central base. This is a picture taken from the air when we had the construction. I'm very, very proud. This is actually one of my biggest achievements what I could reach so far in my life. This is the central base of the Hungarian HEMS at the location in the vicinity of Budaörs. You can see this is a double hangar base together with the management part. This is the mission social block. This is the central coordinator's working place. We have an illuminated helipad. We had a 30,000 liter kerosene tank in the ground. This is the kerosene station under the ground. We can fill 2 helicopters parallel. You can see we have solar cells for electricity. We have solar cells here for hot water. We have, you can see here, 5 little dots. We use the ground power for cooling. This is a new philosophy. We are thinking forward. This is how a new HEMS base should look like in the 21st century. So we use, well, there is like 5 times 40 meters, like 200 meters tube under the ground cooling down the air, which comes from here in suction, and then the cooled air going in. So it's very, very cost effective in terms of daily operations. We have electricity, we have hot water. And this is how it looks like operational already. Of course, the grass is already green. Yeah, so this is the architecture. Let's see the medical equipment. This is very interesting. Those helicopters we have, the EC-135, this is a very, very important issue. When these helicopters were designed, doctors working in a HEMS environment were involved during the design phase. German, French, Austrian doctors were sitting at the design bureau and telling to the actual designers that, okay, we are doctors, we need this space, we need this space, we need door, we need back door. And this is what resulted. There's a very good wide door at the back, so we can get the stretcher out here, of course, at the side. Well, we have every helicopter is more or less different. The Polish colleagues are here. They have, wow, they have great helicopters. Poland, you're here. Poland is, well, they had more money. So the Polish helicopters are really state of the art. But though we have a very reliable system. You can see everything is here: perfusers, ventilators, monitor system. The monitor. This is the Accurus. We have LifePack. Actually, this is already replaced for Argus Pro Life Care, which is like small like this, 2.5 kilograms, everything incorporated, defibrillator monitor, because weight is very, very important in a helicopters issue. At the back, you can see we use the old Schiller big defibrillators. As I said, we have newer ones. This is a stick nav case. This is the emergency bag, things like that, vacuum mattress. So everything is inside the helicopter, what you would require to treat 2-3 ICU critically ill patients. Everything is available. The crew, very, very important issue. How do we fly? As I said, we changed the philosophy. We have dock on board. No question. Helicopter doesn't take off without a doctor. Once we have the most expensive hardware, we should provide the highest competent and skilled software, the doctor. So if we have doc on board, the company employs roughly 50 full and part-time employed doctors who are anesthesiologists and ICU specialists, trauma surgeons, accident and emergency specialists. We have some doctors who haven't specialized yet, but they have significant years of experience in the field of pre-hospital care and emergency care. We have advanced paramedics, roughly again 50 full and part-time, who work next to the doctors. Their competencies are very high, their skills are very high, so they form a very effective and reliable, highly competent medical crew. We have 20 plus pilots. They came from the Army. Well, I must speak about, of course, the problems, a few words, because everybody has problems. At the moment, we have no pilots training, and the pilots are aging. They go to pension soon. So that's a big problem, because in Hungary, all the pilots we have came from the Army or the police. Earlier, the Army, the Air Force trained helicopter pilots. At the moment, there's no substitution, no supply. But actually, this is the United Europe, so I have already employed several years ago the first Austrian pilot. Why not? If I, as a doctor, can work in Austria or Germany or United Kingdom, why shouldn't I employ an Austrian pilot? Why shouldn't I employ a Croatian, whatever? International Europe, Europe is free, share the experience, share the working force. So I believe there could be some solution for that. We have around 10 technicians, a relatively small number, and the management, of course, less than 10 people. Running a company which spends 7 million euros a year, employing 130 people. We don't need more. Of course, there are some post holders according to aviation requirements, which means it's a must. So we cannot avoid to employ someone as a quality manager or somebody as a chief pilot, flight director. But still, we had a management less than 10 people. So let's go on. Dispatch and flight following system. According to the new helicopters, which were available, more flexible, more reliable, we had to have a new dispatch protocol. This was worked out together with the ground ambulance system. As I said, the helicopter emergency service is an integrated part of the ground ambulance service. We have a flight coordinator sitting here at the central base. He has a monitor. He can follow all helicopters' movements. He can see the signs live, data tracking. He can always see where an actual helicopter flies or stands. We have moving maps. We have Tetra communication. We have the company's own radio frequencies, so we can communicate. Communication is centralized. Everything is in one hand, which means, well, it shows towards safety. Trainings. Well, this is the basics. This is the fundamentals of everything, every operation. Once we have recruited the crew with significant experience, we have, they must have a HEMS, Helicopter Emergency Medical Service training, which is like introduction into the world of helicopter operations. Medical treatments, which is very special. If you treat a patient with a helicopter, this is completely different than treating a patient in a ground ambulance car. For example, you cannot stop on the paveway, on the side of the road. You must land, which is a kind of procedure. You have limited space. This is completely different environment. And during the HEMS training, the crew must learn the safety issues, how to approach to a helicopter, how to leave a helicopter once the helicopter crashed. Unfortunately, we have an experience with that. You will see the picture. How to fix a patient, how to fix the objects inside of the helicopters. This is a very, very complex training. You must have it. Theoretical backgrounds, practical preparation, and of course, flight safety. ACRM, this is something new. This is Aeromedical Crew Resource Management. This is a training for non-technical skills, like situational awareness, communication, decision-making, things like that. This is very special and very, very important if you work in a multi-crew environment. Of course, we have medical trainings, workshops, annual conferences, international competitions, standard operating procedures. This is a continuous training behind the everyday operations in every field. Further trainings, because what I told you was rather focusing for the medical crew. What about the pilots? What about the technicians? Of course, they also should be trained. We have annual simulator for the pilots. I've signed a contract with the German Aviation School, the German Army's Aviation School, so they have helicopter simulators. The pilots go there annually, and they have emergency procedures. This is so realistic that all the emergency procedures can be simulated without any risk, of course, because this is a dome, this is a simulator. But this is so realistic that one of our pilots just made an elevated rooftop landing on a hospital in a simulator, and the instructor said, okay, we're finished, you're good, let's go. And he asked, are we going to leave the helicopter here? And the instructor said, listen, this is, yes, because we are not there. He was completely involved in the flight, and he was switched like he was flying a real helicopter. Of course, we use the resources of the manufacturers who produce our helicopters, which is Eurocopter and Turbomeca. Turbomeca is a French company producing the engines. So the technicians had manufacturer-led and provided trainings, of course. SMS and flight safety service. Well, this is a very important issue. SMS is a safety management system. Well, I must read it because it's a very precise definition of SMS according to Helicopter Association International, which is an American organization. SMS is a coordinated set of processes designed to provide an organized and practical method for controlling risk and hazards, which is a management approach. We have to see, as directors, flight directors, medical directors, what happens, what kind of problems occurred, then analyze it and make the appropriate actions to avoid not happen again. This is a daily standby service, the flight safety service. They have a car. If anything happens, they are in duty from start of the day until the last landing of each helicopter. And this is rather about the company culture. This is just two examples. Well, this is actual. This is a safety management service incident report box. Safety management system should provide an opportunity for the employees to report anonymously. So if somebody is not happy, not feeling well because of an incident, this is not blaming someone, not shaming someone, but reporting something he can put in this envelope anonymously. And of course, this is what I just wanted to have a symbolic picture about the company culture. If you put your head under the soil, things still do happen, so must be aware of them and handle those incidents properly. Maintenance organization, very complex issue. As I said, HEMS operations. This is how it builds up. Safety and quality first. So we had to have technicians. This is the human resources side, tooling, equipment, training for them. We had to have the maintenance facility. This is the hangars you saw. We had to have the planning and forecasting, spare parts, logistics, documentation, certification. This is the administrative part. This is how a maintenance organization builds up. We also have that. This is how the maintenance organization look like. We have the tools, we have the hangars, we have the technicians who look after the helicopters. Of course, we have corporate partners, as I said, Turbomeca, Eurocopter, Helier, Austrian company providing maintenance for the service. Mission statistics, medical competencies. As I said, dock on board. This is the most important. Once we have the major dispatch criteria considerations and we decided what we do, then we have to face with it if you want to dispatch a helicopter. This is very challenging, very niche path to avoid a helicopter dispatch unnecessarily, and don't stay at home if you are needed. Of course, we have to see the primary-secondary missions ratio, the trauma, non-trauma emergencies. These are just some of the indicators which are important to evaluate the efficacy of a HEMS service. Just a few slides about the primary-secondary ratio. Before 2006, with the old helicopters, we had primary 30% and mainly secondary. After 2006, as we changed the aircraft, changed the fleet, we have 80% primary and only 20% secondary. Trauma, non-trauma emergencies, we have like close to 40% trauma, 60% non-trauma medical emergencies, stroke, heart attack, etc. What are the main indicators, without going into details again, if we want to see the mission statistics and cost evaluation? Total number of missions, total number of flight hours performed, total number of treated patients, of course, total number of cancelled flights, dispatch and comeback, number of flight hours divided by the number of missions. This is a very nice indicator, which gives how many minutes, how many flight hours do we fly per one mission on average. Total time spent on scene, you know the golden hour phenomenon, 1 hour. Well, that's why the on-scene time is very, very crucial, because the flying out time is like 15 minutes, flying back time to hospital, let's say again 15 minutes, which is like 30. So the maximum time on the scene shouldn't be more than 25 minutes to treat a patient. This is obvious again. This is just one picture how we measure, how we documentate. This is from 2007. As I said, you don't see the numbers. It's just examples for you, what tools we have. This is how we document. Well, this was, at the moment, we still haven't had this base here. This was a new development. And you can see, very interesting, we had to fight with the ground ambulance dispatch, who are rather community located. You see, this is a county of Baranya. The helicopter stationing here has much, much bigger radius, but far the biggest majority of the missions coming from Baranya County. And just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 15 missions coming from the abroad counties. We had to change the philosophy of the dispatch guys who are sitting at the dispatch centers. You see, this Debrecen helicopter flying here in this county, and it's just like this, the Budapest. At the edge of the county, the number of missions is decreasing. Okay, cost-benefit analysis, medical and cost effectiveness, additional main indicators, additional flight hours next to missions, like training and maintenance flights, number of flight hours per mission, as I said, 1 mission's flight hour, how much money we spend totally, gross, brutto, and average cost of 1 mission. This is just a figure how we started. This was the old system until 2005. This was what we started. Total number of missions, whoops, and still going up, hopefully. Fleet total flight time, you see, it was very high comparing to this very low number of missions resulting still very high number of flight hours. We also have higher flight hours, but we have much higher number of missions. So let's see the cost effectiveness, average flight time per mission, and we improved, significantly improved. And this is the European mean. It's like 0.5 hour, which is like 35, 32 minutes flight time per mission. Of course, we had some incidents. We were young, we were ambitious, we were going forward, we were aware of the risks. That's why we implemented simulator flights. That's why we implemented the safety management system, the flight safety system. But though we had an incident, it was just a maintenance. Actually, it was not a flight, it was just a ground round, and the helicopter turned over. It was a pure pilot's mistake. The pilot was taking this ground round for the technician flight very negligent. So he didn't pay attention. He was not supposed to fly. Just round the helicopter on the ground. This was the result. And of course, this was very tragical. We flew a burnt child with the mother. So 5 people on board. The paramedic and the pilot dead, unfortunately. The doctor sitting in the cockpit, the mother and the child survived. This helicopter, very, very safe, I should say that, because we have experience. The doctor in this wreckage suffered a lower arm fracture and a sternal fracture. The mother suffered a broken nose, and the child was not hurt at all. So, how much does it cost? In Hungary, just a few numbers. It's roughly 7 million euro per year. Is it much? Yes. Everybody speaks. Everybody tells, yes, it's a lot of money. But who cares? Because we say 10 million inhabitants in Hungary, it's only 70 cents per person per year. Is it much? To provide a helicopter service which is highly competent, providing actual and available highest competent medical service for those who are in need? I don't think it's much. Okay, this is just a slide about financing. We are non-profit government of finance. This means the financing, the money comes like this. Same amount every month, but this is how we spend the money. You see, March, April, May, June, July, we fly much more. We fly less here. This means continuously, every year, and the money is coming like this, we must plan. We must have our money very good, just like at home. Don't spend the money here, because then we run out of money here. So, I would like to give you a few key messages, and I'm almost done. Key message. If you want to set up a helicopter emergency medical service, I would suggest have a precise preparation. Evaluate the needs and available resources, your country, your hospital system, your highway system, your helicopters. Do some benchmarking. Come to us, invite us, we are here, Poland, Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary. You have a concept for a long time, minimum for 10 years, please. Don't make changes by every actual government elections. This will kill. This will kill. This will kill the HEMS service. Minimum 10 years. Small working group, that's my experience. The less people, the more efficacy you have. Full delegation, free hands. Check the best practices. Implement those best practices according to your needs, your local circumstances. Have a conceptual planning. Try to find a stable financing model. There are several, and it should be worked out for your country as well. Have a stable, committed management. Don't replace the managing director every 6 months. This is the story what happens now in Hungary. When I left the company, February 2011, since that time there's already the 3rd managing director of the company. So we can say that at the Hungarian HEMS at the moment there's 4 managing directors over 2 years period of time. This is rubbish. This is not concept. This is not long-term thinking. Okay, and have a motivated crew. But I can tell you, if you have a system like this, you will have a very, very motivated crew. They will be working like horses. Conclusion. Just this is my personal, very personal conclusion, message for you. Failure is not an option. This comes from Houston, Apollo 13. Failure is not an option. We have paid the price. We lost 2 colleagues. We lost 2 helicopters. Everybody has some incidents. Poland, Austria, everybody. It's a very dangerous operation. So just focus on safety. In selection, no corruption. This is a message I got from an old Austrian pilot when I was nominated as a managing director. And he met me and he told me, Mr. Turi, just one message for you. And I took this message all over my career, and I believe it pays off. And of course, you can aim high. If you can dream it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it. Thank you very much.
Okay.